welcome to the Living Life Being Human podcast. And I would like to introduce Julie Flynn, and her cat, Einstein. If you're watching this on the video, Julie runs Ebb and Flow Financial Coaching, the UK's only financial planner and coach exclusively for widows. And she supports us through financial transition. Julie demystifies money and encourages us to live courageously, which I absolutely love that quote. She also runs Bree Wealth and Tax Management. We met on Clubhouse, and this is where Julie runs the Women and Money Cafe at 10 a.m. on a Friday, Greenwich Mean Time. But all Julie's links will be in the podcast notes, so you can catch up with her. There'll be everything on there. So welcome, Julie.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Jackie.
It's a
really
pleasure.
nice
I am
to-
intrigued and interested to know everything about what you do.
Oh, everything. All right, I'll give you the concise version
That
there.
will do to start off with, and then we'll pick at it.
All right. Well, as you were saying, I am a qualified financial planner, and I also happen to be a certified financial coach as well. And I run two businesses. And so on the surface, it sounds like I'm really together financially, doesn't it?
Like the sound of that.
It looks like I've got my
life
money
coach,
right.
you're supposed to have your life sorted, but it doesn't work out that way.
No, and it's like, do you know what's really interesting? It's when I started training as a financial coach, obviously you have to experience it yourself.
Yeah.
In order to be able to help other people with it. And the reason I'll get really excited about what I do is because the experience I had just being trained, I'm not joking when I say it changed my life. I mean, dramatically. So going through the process, I know that you'll find this a lot with the work that you do, and I know your other guests will come across similar things as well. But one of the exercises that we do near the start, and this is something that yourself or your listeners might want to try, is if I say the word money to you, just have a little think about what words spring to mind. What do you think about money? And the thing that happened with me is, and I know that I've always said this, and it's going to sound really silly what I do for a living, is I didn't believe that money was important.
Yeah.
That was my belief. Money's not important. And you might think, well, that's a bit strange given what she does for a living. But it really ties in with my values. It's people that are important. It's not material goods and it's not money. I've got the cats trying to fight next to me and I'm doing my best to ignore them. But yeah, so I had this belief that money wasn't important. And going through the coaching process, what I realized was it's not that I believe money's not important. The belief was that I'm not important.
That's so profound, isn't it? When you have that kind of a realization or a light bulb moment, as I call them, it's like, whoa.
It was just, even now I'm feeling a bit tingly.
Yeah.
Remembering it. Like, wow, I don't think I'm important. I don't think I matter. And these are obviously, these are all things that kind of trace back to childhood.
Yeah.
And I know that you'll know this, and lots of your listeners probably know this as well, but when you're a child, it's really difficult to distinguish between fact and a belief. And we pick up these beliefs, and because of the age we are, they get filed away as fact.
Yeah.
Until we go and pull them out and have a look at them and just sort of look at them objectively as an adult. And as you think, well, hang on a minute, that's not actually a fact.
Yeah. And not only that, it's not my stuff. One of the things I talk to clients about all the time is, we have a parent-child and ego state, and our parents have got a parent-child and ego state. And the way that we absorb our parents is without a filter. We're too young to filter out what's their stuff, what's my stuff, where does it come from, is it true, is it not, is it a belief, should I believe it? We just absorb it fully. So our parents kind of become part of us as well, and it's generational too.
Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth. Absolutely. These beliefs pass on down through the generations. And I think that's why I get really excited about what I do, because once that penny dropped with me, I was like, oh, okay. And then once you're aware of things, you start to spot it in your behaviors, because it really translated into how I live my life. You know, I'm a very giving person, but sometimes at my own detriment.
Yeah. Snap.
And that's because I think I don't matter.
Yeah.
What the real wake up call for me is, have we got time for me to tell you a quick story?
Yeah, of course you have.
Right. So last year we had that small window when you could go on holiday, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, but that
Yeah.
small.
Yeah. About 3 days, maybe a bit longer.
And like I'm part of what we call, I think it's called a blended family.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's lots of us everywhere. But I sat down with my son, who's 10 now. I said, Owen, how do you feel about going on holiday, just you and me, for a week? And his first response to that was, what about everybody else?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's me.
Oh, that's me coming out of your mouth.
That's me. Like, it wasn't like, oh yeah, mom, can we go and do that?
Yeah.
He stopped and I thought, oh, hang on a minute. And so I sat him down and just explained, right, will you take your time and think about it? But it's okay to put you first. It's nice that you thought about everybody else.
Yeah.
But we're allowed to do things just for ourselves. And that was that blew my mind. I thought, oh, that I'm not important. That stops with my generation.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah.
You know, it's the change that I've seen for myself, and then what that's going to do for my family's life. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's mind blowing. It's just
It's
awesome.
big. Yeah. I
So
know,
that's
a
why.
lot of my clients, because I'm constantly, chirruping on about self-care and being selfless, and it goes against an awful lot of our beliefs. It's like, well, it's selfish. And no, it's not. Being selfless doesn't equate to being selfish or, prioritizing ourselves in a negative way. We can do that in a positive way. Yeah, 100%.
But you know, it's a learning process.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
learning to do that. But the first step is just being aware of it, and then the realization. You know, once you're aware, things start to slowly change anyway.
yeah.
But then you can start making conscious changes, and once that happens, I think you can see really big changes really quickly.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. Awareness is the key to me, because often it's habitual behavior. We don't question it.
No.
We just do it, and it feels right and comfortable and familiar to us. So why would we change it?
And on the flip side of that is when you start doing something different to that, it feels really uncomfortable. Because
And
you, oh, right, this feels
anxiety
uncomfortable. This must be
provoking.
wrong.
Yeah,
This must be bad. I must
yeah,
not do this. But it's just finding those small, slow, safe steps to
yeah,
make the changes.
yeah. I love that story. And literally I open my mouth and my mum comes out half the time. It's with sayings that I swore I would never say. I wouldn't do that when I grow up, and yet every so often she kind of sneaks out. So it's really interesting that we don't filter our parents at all. Even if they're an absent parent, somehow they still take up space in our
Yeah,
subconscious. And that's what a lot of this is about, is all our belief system, all our thoughts, everything, that internal dialogue, it's all subconscious stuff. It's when
yeah,
it comes up into our conscious mind and we have the awareness that then we can choose to do something different.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. So I think in my experience, what I found, certainly for me personally, I think this will probably resonate with a lot of the people listening, is that you hear financial coaching and you're like, oh, that's going to be dull. But it's nothing to do with money.
see, this is it. When you said a financial coach, that is exactly, not that you were dull, I wouldn't go that far, but the way that you're talking now, it's like, oh wow, that's like life coaching. That's like the stuff that I do. What has that got to do with money? So
Uh-huh.
yeah, this is a steep learning curve for me having this conversation.
Well, I think, with the women that I work with, and in my personal experiences, quite often what we're coming back to is self-worth,
Yeah,
and how we communicate that internally to ourselves, and then how that comes out into the world as well. And just being aware of some of the things that we do will serve us, and
yeah,
some of the things that we do don't. And even like, so, I'll give you a classic example. I'm an overgiver, but that in itself is not helpful to some of the people in my life.
No, it can be disempowering to the other person sometimes. Yeah.
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 Uh-huh. And it's just like that, just bringing that gentle curiosity to it.
Yeah.
That helps make those little changes, and those little small steps that you take, they have ripple effects,
Yeah.
and things can get really good really fast.
Yeah. See, one of the things I talk sometimes is called the drama triangle, where you've got the rescuer, the persecutor, and the victim. And if
Oh
I'm
yeah,
an overgiver, if I'm a giver, then that
yeah,
kind of
rescuer.
puts me in the rescuer place. But
Uh-huh.
in order to rescue, there has to be a
Yeah,
victim,
victim.
which
Yeah,
is disempowering the other person in a relationship.
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, that makes perfect sense. So
There's the other triangle that's the healthy version, isn't there?
yes, yeah, yeah, it's coaching and empowering, and like you said, being curious, and not
Yeah.
critical. Yeah, it fascinates me. Going back to what you said originally at the start of this, when you said think of a word,
Yes.
my word
Okay.
was fear. I have a real fear around money, and I'm not sure where that comes. Well, I probably do, but you know particularly my mum would always say things like, you need to save up because it could go at any moment.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? We would never get things on credit. We had to save up for them beforehand. But there was always this thing about, even if you had money in the bank, something could happen and it could go. It wasn't consistent. It was all or nothing thinking around money.
Right.
So I have a real fear around money.
Right.
It's
Okay.
strange. I can put it in account and forget I've got it. If it's like, yeah, it's not there, don't think about it. Don't plan, don't spend it. Just ignore the fact that it's there.
All right.
So what does that say about me?
Well, how did it feel for you thinking about that and saying it out loud?
Stupid for one. It's like, I don't know. Money is part of life. Why should I be fearful of something? It links in for me as well personally, about a fear of being successful. Like you say, I tend to give things away. Even in I'm a rubbish businesswoman. I shouldn't be saying this on this podcast. I'm a really good coach and psychotherapist, but the business side of it just doesn't sit well with me. It never
Yeah.
has. I could see people all day long and not charge them, but unfortunately that doesn't pay my mortgage.
All right.
But I uncomfortable around money, definitely.
All right. That's something I spend a lot of time talking about. So I know a lot of women that is the first word that comes to mind when
Yeah,
they mention fear. And I think one of the things that I do with the people that I work with is just going back and spending time and looking at your money narrative. What was the story about money while you were growing up? And you mentioned there are a couple of things that your mom said.
yeah. My
You've
dad's
already
favourite
mentioned
saying.
previously that your mom's voice comes out
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes.
But even my dad was quite entrepreneurial. He didn't have fear around money, but he used to say things like, "You're either born with it or you'll never have it." That was his. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean? It was very much black and white thinking around money with my dad.
oh, right. So you're either born with it or
Yeah,
you'll never have it.
yeah, yeah.
So
That
were
that
you
was it.
born with lots of money, Jackie?
Was I?
Uh-huh.
Was I heck? So I'll never have it. That's one of the beliefs. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
All
Which
right.
again, I suppose, links into the fear side. My mum and dad had completely different outlooks as far as money and things. My mum was very much save it all up, pay off your mortgage, don't have any debt. Whereas my dad was quite entrepreneurial, and if he had it, he would invest it in some ridiculous scheme in the hopes of being a millionaire, but would probably lose everything. So it was easy come, easy go for me dad, whereas my mum would hang on to it forever.
All right.
And
So,
I must be somewhere in the middle.
well, if you just think about that for a minute, like I know that you've done a lot of work with children, haven't you?
Yes, yeah,
So, if you thought about some of the children that you've worked with, and they're getting what sounds like polar opposite takes
Yeah,
on a subject.
yeah. What I would say, not, maybe not with children, because sometimes it can be a bit over the head, but that could be me putting them down. But for adults, I would say that causes a real internal dilemma. It's that internal chatter. And what I would, in transactional analysis, we call it an impasse, where our parent is speaking to our child and we're missing out the adult bit. So it's kind of like, yeah, go on, you can buy that, treat yourself. No, you can't. What do you think you're doing? You shouldn't be spending that money. It's kind of like that internal argument that we sometimes have with ourselves. So I would have my mum on one side saying, save everything. And my dad on the other side saying, no, you only live once, spend it. If you've got it, enjoy it. But that's all happening in my head.
Would you say one's more dominant than the other?
I'm risk averse. That's my mum.
Uh-huh.
I would love to be more like my dad and think, yeah, if I've got it, enjoy it. Yeah, I'd probably say more like my mum. I think my kids would say I'm more like my mum as well.
Right. So that that sense of fear that it can just disappear,
Yeah.
and that feeling of being risk averse. So that will have served you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I'm just then curious, how do you think that belief might have protected you?
Well, I've not been made bankrupt.
All right, okay.
There's always, yeah. It's middle of the road. That's where it's kept me. Being risk averse, I have probably said no to certain opportunities that might have took me down a different path. But then I've not fallen off the edge of the cliff. Does that make sense? It's a bit meh. Yeah.
All right.
Money doesn't excite me. It
No,
serves a purpose.
no, you're absolutely right. Well, like you said at the start, it's just a thing. It's just a tool, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if it doesn't excite you, but at the same time it does, it can, the first word you used was fear.
Yeah.
So there is emotion around there, isn't there?
Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Negative rather than positive, I would have thought. Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's what I help people do is change those emotions. And it's all going back to those beliefs that we've picked up, or that have been misfiled as facts in my case.
Yeah. 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 And mine.
And I think, it's like anything. If we're doing something or we believe something or we're continuing with something that isn't necessarily the best thing for us, we'll be doing it because there's a benefit to it.
Yeah.
And it sounds to you like one of the benefits of sort of listening to your mum's voice in your head is it's keeping you safe.
Yeah. 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 Because I'm avoiding taking a risk. So it's kind of like just staying on the same well-trodden path. Which again is what I say to clients a lot of the time. If we're making a shift, if we're starting to make a change, it can make us have a wobble. It can make us feel a bit unsafe for a while until that becomes the new norm. That pushing our safe space out can be quite provoking.
No, I'm not joking when I said when I started going through the training myself, I was worried for my relationship at one point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think coaching and therapy should come with a health warning, may change your life.
Yeah. I talk about this. I have done in previous podcasts. When I was doing my psychotherapy training in the UK, I think it's one of the few countries where you have to have personal therapy alongside your training. So I had 4 years of personal therapy. I went into it thinking there was nothing wrong with me. Got like 6 months in and thought, whoa, what is going on? So yeah, a lot of other countries you can just train to be a psychotherapist or whatever without having personal training. It was invaluable to me. I made massive changes.
I know, I'm a big advocate. And I like, how one of the things you said at the start is you felt a little bit silly.
Yeah.
About your beliefs about money. If this helps you, and I hope it helps the listeners as well, right? So I trained with Catherine Morgan trains financial advisors in the UK to become financial coaches.
Yeah.
And so I was in a training group with all other financial planners. So bear in mind what we do for money. for a living, rather, right?
yeah,
Freudian slip there. What we do for a living, every single one of us had unhelpful beliefs about money.
yeah,
When we all looked back at our childhood and money, there wasn't a single person in there that didn't have something. And we could all see how it filtered through into our personal lives, our business lives.
yeah.
So absolutely everybody. And like, I'm such a big advocate of it that I do actually have my own financial coach now. So it takes a team to run me, Jacci. I've got a
Well,
business
you'd be
coach, I've got a
surprised.
financial coach, I've got a
Yeah,
therapist.
yeah. I've got supervisors. I have peer support with other psychotherapists where we just bounce ideas off each other and think. I truly believe that we're better together. It's not about that being an island or whatever. The more people, like-minded people, we can have around us, the better we all are. Yeah.
Oh, and always be learning.
Yeah, 100%. I love learning. I'm addicted to it. That's
Oh, you
one
and
of the
me
things
both.
that I
That's how I just keep running to go and find things to learn more about.
yeah, yeah. I was well, I am qualified in transactional analysis, but I've done NLP, I've done Reiki. If it interests me, then I'll go and learn about it, because to me, if a client comes, I don't want to just be single-minded on this is how I'm going to
Yeah.
do it. I will throw everything apart from the kitchen sink and see what sticks. And then we'll go down that road, because everybody's individual and
Yeah.
one size doesn't fit all. Like exactly what you were saying, we've all got our own thoughts and our own belief systems. That's unique to us and our upbringing. So CBT might not work with one person, whereas person-centered might. I'm up for learning new things every day.
Oh, you sound like my therapist. She's done everything. She read all the books, throw them all away, and just makes it up now as she goes along.
Well, do you know, that's something else as well. When we talk about filtering what our parents say, I can read a book and I'll filter out certain stuff. Me and you could read exactly the same book.
Oh
I
yeah.
would take something from it completely different to, even though we're reading the same words. That fascinates me.
Yeah.
That just shows how much we actually filter out as human beings.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm just so curious and fascinated by everybody.
Okay. Well, how do you feel about being curious about this? Right? Take
Mm.
a little minute and just have a think about that belief that you've got that the money can just disappear like that. All right. What would be possible if that belief didn't exist anymore?
As soon as you said that, I had a feeling. I had an emotional response to that, because my head is saying, wow, it would be limitless. If I didn't have the fear of losing it, that would open up everything to me. And then it kind of goes, don't do that. Don't do that. That's scary. It's that constant conflict with me. There's part of me that says, yeah, go for it. And then the other part that goes, oh, no, don't be doing that.
Oh, but we're only pretending just now. You don't actually have to do it. But I'm just curious what would be possible if it if
Anything, literally. It excites me. As soon as I think you only got halfway through that sentence and I was getting excited, thinking, oh, wow, yeah, what could I achieve?
okay, so tell me some of the things that you could achieve.
It literally aim high. There would be nothing that I wouldn't attempt to do. Setting up a new business or veering off and doing something else, being part of a mentoring program. I would literally everything.
All right. So you might set up another business, you might be part of a mentoring program. So I mean what might the new business be?
My dream has always been to do something charitable that offered low cost help and support for other people. So running a business where people would pay, the right price, but then using that to fund something else that would offer help and support to other people at a lower cost. So that sort of a thing.
All right. Tell me more about that then.
It's just always been a thought that it's kind of like a bit Robin Hoodie, if you will. It's that rescuer part of me again. you know, reaching the people that I could help and support without them having to use their finances for it.
All right. Well, that sounds awesome and really admirable. And like a mentoring program.
Yeah,
Tell me more about that. What that
yeah.
would mean to you.
It would be my way of paying it forward. And I think the thing for me would be I would feel better about taking the money off certain people because I would be giving it to somebody else. It would flow through me, if that made sense.
All
And
right.
that would mean that I wouldn't have the feelings of fear or guilt around charging it at one end if I was giving it away at the other.
All right. Okay, you've just thrown in another buzzword there. You know that, don't you?
No, I don't.
Right. So you just obviously we've touched upon the fear already.
Yeah,
You just threw in another key word.
guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of that.
Oh, who doesn't? All right, by the way, hands up. I'm not all there. I still have to work on myself.
Snap, as you can tell.
But tell me about the guilt.
um, Tell me about the guilt. I have guilt around most things. That's my go-to emotion, I think, out of everything. Which again, you know, I'm not knocking my mum. I love my mum and everything, but a lot of her parenting was guilt-based, or that's how it felt. I can always remember feeling guilty about pretty much everything when I was growing up. So it's my go-to emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
I can be guilty for things I've never even done or seen. There's something about taking responsibility for the people around me and lots of other stuff.
oh, right. No, that resonates with me.
Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. Is it a sense of responsibility?
that's how I always think it is. My yeah,
Okay.
one of the things in my background, my sister, she's 3 years older than me. She was born with a disability. So
Right.
the way that I rationalize, and I talk quite openly with my family and clients around this, is that my sister was the broken kid and I was the okay kid.
Right.
So yeah, obviously my parents, a lot of attention went on my older sister because, you know, it wasn't a massive disability. She's fine, she's still here. But there was a lot of things she couldn't do. So she got a lot of the focus and I just was okay.
Right.
So I suppose I was constantly trying to get attention. So being the good kid and taking responsibility for myself and other things got me validation when I was growing up, which links into all the people pleasing and the be strong. Don't do emotion very well, which isn't very good for a therapist. All that feely stuff. Don't talk to me about feeling things.
Oh, that's so refreshing.
Like I said, clients come to me and I'm empathic and everything, but on a personal note, and again, I'm quite open and I talk a lot with clients about this. My training, we have thinkers and doers and feelers and people that physiologically notice what's going on in their body. I'm a thinker and a doer. I avoid feeling at all costs, so I just do stuff.
All right.
You know, if
What would happen if you felt things?
oh, the end of the world.
Really?
No, I'm getting better. That's how it used to feel. But yeah, I still fall into that trap. Depending on what my state of mind is on any given day, I will still fall into the doing as opposed to just feeling a feel. I know in my head that you can feel a feel and it will pass. That's what happens. Feelings and emotions
Tell
are
me if this
transient.
is true or not. I heard somewhere that when you have a feeling, if you just sit with it and stay with it, it doesn't last more than 90 seconds.
Absolutely.
That blew my mind when I learned that.
This is what I use with my clients all the time. This is like, it's the snow globe, $1.99 from a well-known shop it was. But if we do nothing, everything settles, our thoughts, our emotions, everything. But what we tend to do is like, why am I feeling like this? I need to stop it. I don't like this feeling. It's really uncomfortable. And we're just constantly shaking it. Whereas the reality is, if you just sit in an uncomfortable feeling, it will go.
Isn't that amazing?
Amazing. Yeah.
Ah, I know, I love it.
It's same with the adrenaline that we get when we're having an anxiety attack. That only lasts about 90 seconds. But because we have a fear of the fear, we're constantly injecting ourselves with more cortisol. So it
Oh
lasts
yeah.
longer. But to tell somebody to just sit feeling anxious, it will pass. It doesn't work. When we're in that
No,
feeling
which is
place,
why I was dancing for 90 seconds around the room before we started this. Helps with my nerves. So I had the music blaring out full blast, dancing around. Actually, that's maybe why the cats were a bit excitable.
yeah, yay, mum, we're dancing.
No, so that's what I did as a financial coach. It's just a lot of the time it's going back to that money narrative in the past. And what you'll find is, so, the the beliefs and the feelings that we have attached with it. So, we might be a little bit similar in some ways with the whole I don't matter, I'm not important, but this terrible sense of responsibility for other people
Yeah,
and all of that really tied in. And you could see it, how that then played out in my behavior now. And it's and in some ways it's more subtle because it's not destructive, it's not overtly destructive.
yeah,
It doesn't look like it's doing me any or anybody else any harm,
yeah.
and it's not. But life can be so much better,
Yeah. So much
you know.
easier. Yeah,
Oh,
100%.
absolutely. So it's just sort of going back and understanding where did that come from, who does that belong to.
That's the big thing. Is that my I do swear and I'm good. Is that my shit or is that somebody else's shit? That's the way that I talk about it.
Oh
it
yeah, it's somebody else's shirt.
that yeah, 100%. I talk about it, and I don't know whether you used to play it when you were a kid, but we used to play a game called Hot Potato, where you caught a ball and you threw it really quick. You
Yeah.
couldn't hang on to it, you had to throw it. And I see that as our belief system is somebody's thrown it to us and we picked it up and it's, it's ours by all intents and purposes. The reality is it's not.
Yeah.
One of the things that really striking for me, and I don't know why this resonates, but if you know, one of my clients has got anxiety around health, which particularly the situation that we're in at the moment, an awful lot of them have got health anxieties. They can usually link that back to their parents having health anxieties. A
Mm.
fear of being ill or a fear of somebody around them being ill. My mum used to get really angry with me when I was a kid if I got ill,
Mm.
but she was scared.
Yeah.
But rather than feeling scared, we have this wonderful ability to cover up one feeling with another one. And I do that. If I'm anxious or fearful, I get really angry with myself and other people.
Yeah.
We call it a racket feeling in transactional analysis because it's safer to feel the racket feeling than it is to feel the actual authentic one that we're having.
All right. And so, why do you think she felt scared?
Um, Probably because I don't know the time that she was born. She was, she wasn't brought up by her parents a lot of the time because they were working. So she went away to live with older people that probably had health fears themselves. But it does tend to be a generational thing that's passed on.
Yeah.
If there's been an illness within the family or somebody's, chronically ill throughout, we can kind of pick up other people's fears around certain things.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm listening to you there, and I'm just, this isn't necessarily your circumstances, but it reminds me of someone else that I worked with, and it's interesting, isn't it, that very similar to your mum as far as when the individual felt scared, it would come out as anger, but the fear was actually because they cared.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you have someone that cares so deeply, but what they're communicating is anger.
Yeah.
I like, and then once the lady I was working with, she goes, I just thought she was angry with me all the time. I thought I couldn't do anything right. I
Yeah.
thought I wasn't good enough. Like now I can see that. All right, she wasn't the best at communicating, but that all came because she loves me so much and she just couldn't say it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really sad. That makes me feel so sad. That the intention wasn't to make, with my mum, the intention wasn't to make me feel bad in any way, shape or form, but her fear around certain things, it was all about her feelings and her projecting it outwards, and I picked it up.
Yeah.
So I learned when I was growing up to not be ill. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of like I needed to be okay all the time, because otherwise somebody would get angry with me.
Right, so you said there you picked it up off of her.
Yeah.
Right, put it back down again, Jackie.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
That's someone else's shit.
Yeah, it is. It's like they can dump it, just look at it and say, oh, look at all that shit. I'm not picking it up, it's not mine. I've got enough of my own, to be perfectly honest, without picking up other people's.
Are you sure it's your own?
Well, no. But again, there's so much that resonates with me about what you're talking about. I say it with clients about their anxiety. Give it a face, give it a shape. What does it look like? Has it got a colour? And then once you visualize whatever it is, put it in a cupboard. It'll be there when you come home from work. If you want to pick it back up again, you can pick it up at any time, but just put it down for a day and see what it feels like. And they look at me as if I'm off. What is this woman talking about?
All right, well, listeners, right? Jackie knows her stuff, okay? Because you heard me mention before that I was dancing around the room before we did this interview, and Jackie knows that I find stuff like this absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
I'm just a classic introvert. But I'm just pretending you're not really there. I'm going to refer to you. But I was dancing before we started doing this because I thought, right, I'm really nervous. I need to just get the energy out. And that inner critic voice, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're doing. You're not good enough. All that one. I've given mine a name. Mine's Macapaka from In the Night Garden.
Love it. Love it.
And so me and Macapaka were having a bit of a dance before the interview, and then he was told to do one.
Do you know, see, that's made all my hair stand on end. My inner critic, I visualize as being, it's kind of, do you know Nanny McPhee?
I do, yes.
It's really like Victorian, wears dark clothes or whatever. Okay. I call her Edna. My little chirrupy voice is called Edna, and she's dressed in black, Victorian looking, just very stern. And I tell her to bog off quite regularly. But yeah, if you describe this to somebody else, they look at you as if you've just fallen out of a nutty house or something. But I think it's good if you can visualize and externalize something.
Oh yeah, well, I think I'm safe to say this because my son's only 10, so I don't think he's going to be listening to your podcast for a while. So he's not going to know that I've spilled his secrets. But sometimes he has this, he calls it's just a feeling. What is it? It's the feeling that everything's his fault. That's what it is. It's the feeling that everything is his fault. And that probably stems from when me and his dad split up. And so he's given his a name as well. And it's Poe from the Teletubbies. Yeah. So I've had the same conversation with him now. And we just like, is that Poe? And he's like, yeah, it's Poe. Yeah. And like, do you remember what I said to you? He goes, I do remember what you said to me, that it's just a feeling and it isn't my fault.
Yeah. That's it. And, to me, if that resonates with somebody, that's fantastic. For other people, they might not get that. That's it. Yeah, but it's what works and what doesn't work. And that, to me, is all about us being unique and individual. My son, my eldest, he's 32 now. He has no problems with money whatsoever. He has no fear around it. He dabbles in stocks and shares, and only the amount that he can afford to lose. He works hard, but he plays hard as well. But he has no fear around money, which I'm really proud of. But he processes things completely differently to the way that I do. We bounce off each other quite well because we're different personalities, whereas me and my daughter are quite similar. She tries to rescue me and I try to rescue her, and we end up just rescuing each other, which is quite nice.
Just stop and be rescued.
Oh, that's it. Just let me look after you, but she wants to look after me as well. So it's a mutual love fest when I'm with my daughter, whereas my son's much more practical. Do you know what I mean? He likes practical. Here's a problem. There's the solution. Let's just crack on and do it, type of thing. But yeah, I think my kids have got hard. Well, I've got 3 children. My 16-year-old, I still haven't sussed him out quite yet. He's still evolving, bless him. But
Not
my eldest,
yeah.
again,
Not fully cooked yet.
he's not fully cooked yet. We're still working on it. He's a work in progress. But my son has part of me, definitely. If I was split down the middle like a stick of rock, he would be half and my daughter would be half, 100%. Together they make a whole me, which is quite interesting.
Just listen to you talk there. It makes me think. I'm curious about, how you're a doer. You've said.
Yeah.
I wonder if I think there'd be a way to sort of get that doer mindset on the money, because doers don't stop to be scared, do they?
No, they don't.
No.
Yeah.
You've got all the tools there. We just need to line them up in the right place for you.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I think you said something earlier that made me think about this. And I thought, oh, this might be helpful, because everybody I mention it to, they're like, oh, I never thought about that. It's to do with comfort zones. And, a lot of the work I do with people is they know they have a lower comfort zone. Like when the money's not there, up there, like that's really uncomfortable. I need to have that much.
Yeah.
But what they all turn around and go, oh, okay, is when I say, do you know you've got an upper comfort level as well? So once the money gets to a certain point, that's where you're comfortable and it can't go above that. You will find ways to make it stay under that level.
Yeah.
And this happened to me in my business, is that in my head, I was just like, once it got to a certain amount, I had to pay everybody more. I had to do stuff with it. I couldn't let it get bigger than that, because that wasn't comfortable to me. And it's just being aware of that.
Yeah. That really resonates with me, what you've just said. But again, that's the belief. That's my dad with that all or nothing. You either have to have loads of money or none, because if you're anywhere in the middle, the government screw you over, or you have to pay tax, or I don't know what it is. But it's kind of like you've either got to have lots or nothing. The middle ground isn't a good place to be in. So what you're saying about having an upper limit, that really resonated with me. Yeah.
So, one of the things that you said that you can remember him saying is, you're either born with it or you don't have it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's fact?
No. No. There's part of me that thinks, yeah, you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth and everything else, but then even it's not a guarantee. Do you know what I mean? They can lose money just like anybody else can. Same as somebody that hasn't got it can make money just like anybody else can. I do believe in opportunities around money. It's one of the things my eldest son always says to me is, why not, Mum? Why not you? When I say, yeah, but they're successful. Well, why not you?
You are successful though, Jackie.
Yeah, you see, even that. I don't like the word success. I don't like the word expert. There's lots of things that trigger me.
Right. Okay. Now, if it helps, I'm the same. Somebody referred to me as an entrepreneur the other day, and I had to look around.
Who? Yeah. When somebody says I'm an expert at something, that imposter syndrome just comes out full force. Who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of, and I am better at challenging those thoughts. When Edna rears her ugly head, I am getting better at challenging her. Yeah.
I think, for anybody that's listening, if you're curious about how you start to make some little changes yourself with your money, is just have a little thing, grab a pen and paper in a half hour at some point and just write down any words and beliefs that you have about money. And if there's one that's particularly jumping out at you, okay, I'm going to ask you to make 2 lists, okay? Make a list of all the evidence you have proving that belief, and then a list of all the evidence that disproves it. Okay, spoiler alert, okay? It's a belief, it's not a fact. So we
Yeah.
can change it.
Love it. Love it.
And then, you know, once you've done that exercise, with off the back of that, I want you to write down your new belief. So, you know, I've already shared that my belief was I'm not important.
Yeah.
So my new belief is that I do matter and I do deserve the wealth that I have.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, just, you know, it's not a finished product, but just it's a start, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah. Yeah.
And you can start to see the changes.
Yeah. And it's a massive impact. Even just hearing you say that, you know, it does resonate with me. I often talk to clients about taking a thought to court. Take it to court, challenge it. Do you know what I mean? That pros and cons list or whatever. Just take it to court. Find the proof. Where's the proof that that thought is real? And they're not. A thought is just a thought until we give it energy, and then that starts to become a belief that we then, you know, accept
Then
into
we
our
attach
subconscious.
to it.
Yeah, yeah. And thoughts, just like feelings and emotions, are transient. They move all the time, dependent on where our state of mind is as well. On a good day, it doesn't go in. Just bat it off. But on a not so good day, it's like, yes, come to me. I will accept you.
The door's open, all are welcome. Come on in.
That's it. Come in, sit down, take a seat.
You know, I think, you know, that's true of all of us.
Yeah.
But, you know, that happens to everybody. But, you know, what you and I do is we're just trying to give people the tools to start to change it, because change is possible.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Because I think I mentioned, you know, I've got 2 successful businesses, and apparently I'm an entrepreneur, which was news to me.
Yes, embrace it.
But, you know, there's been times when my life's been a complete and utter mess. I mean, do you know what? There's been times when, and I know that this happens to lots of people, it's not just me, so I have no shame about admitting this.
Good.
The bills come through the door and I can't open the envelope. I've been in that place.
Yeah.
And it's just because my brain couldn't cope with that. So I have problems concentrating, because I have narcolepsy and I have PTSD. So sometimes my memory's not the most reliable.
Wow.
And when that's really bad, I struggle to process complicated information. And then when there's actions that require like lots of different steps, it's just overwhelm.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I recognize that now, like, oh, well, that's okay. Right. So that's how it is today. That's not how it's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I would just, you know, anybody that's listening that thinks, yeah, I can't be fixed. I can't do it. It's not for me. Probably help other people. Well, no, because I've been in the biggest of deep holes mentally and got myself back out.
Yeah. It really resonates with me, you know. But again, if there is that person listening saying, yeah, it'll work for everybody else, but it won't work for me, that's just your filter. That's just another one of those thoughts and those beliefs that I'm different. It won't work for me. It'll work for everybody else, but not me, because of X, Y, and Z. And that's the taking it to court. Take that bit to court. Why not you? Just you. Why not?
I would say in some ways, is it even simpler than that? If you're saying, why not you? Oh, I don't have any filters. I'm just going to say what's going through my head now.
Yeah, say it.
It's that you don't want it to be you.
Yeah, yeah.
So you've got all these reasons on why not you. Really, it's just you've decided not you.
Yeah.
So equally, you could decide, yes, me. This time.
100%, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, when you said about being broke, one of the things, or being needing to be fixed, one of the things I often say is that it's impossible to break a human being. We are all born okay. Yes, some people are born with disabilities and things, but having that disability, they are still okay in that body and doing whatever. So it's impossible to break a human being. But we're always trying to get back to peace and harmony. We don't like being, stressed and overwhelmed and everything. If we don't interfere with it, we just go back to that good place. And
Yeah.
it's that same sort of thing. We were born okay, so we can go back to being okay. It's just
Yeah.
all the things that happen to us in life, the family that we're born in, the parents that we have, all that sort of stuff. If that can change us, then we can consciously make a decision to go back to where we were. We don't need to learn something new. We've already got it in us. We just need to understand
Yeah.
that change can happen like that.
Yeah. And here's one for you. If you think you're broken, speaking of someone who did think she was broken at one point,
Yeah,
that's one of those little beliefs that sneaked in pretending to be a fact.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm not broken. You're not broken. None of us are.
no, no,
That's not a fact.
yeah.
That's a belief.
It is. And you sound quite similar to me. I have little phrases. I would imagine that for your clients, it's quite annoying when you're just constantly saying, that's not fact, that's a belief. I always say,
Well, I ask.
oh yeah, yeah. My clients, especially
any
the
less
ones,
annoying.
yeah. I run a membership, and we're completely real in there, and I will constantly say the same phrases to them over and over and over again, because we need to hear it a lot of the times. The more we say it out loud, our subconscious hears it and clocks it.
Yeah.
We hear everything we think and everything we say. We're absorbing it all. So we need to learn to challenge those thoughts and those beliefs,
Yeah.
undo the stuff, just
Yeah.
loosen the knots a little bit, and open the opportunity to having a new belief around certain things. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think one of my other annoying ones is what would be possible if,
Yeah.
which you've already experienced.
Love it, love it. Yeah, I always say, be curious, not critical, and our thoughts create our reality 100% of the time. That's
Mm,
how it works.
mm, yeah.
That it all comes from our thinking. My clients often, they made me feel this way, or that happened that caused me to feel this, and it's all very external. It's a thing, a place, or an event that made me feel this way. And I
Yeah.
say to them, the reality is
Feel
it's
that way.
your thoughts about the
Yeah.
person, the event, or the thing that are creating your feelings. Nobody has the power to make us feel anyway. It's a choice.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that's the one of the issues with money is it can be a really emotive subject.
Of course, yeah, yeah,
And it can bring with it a lot of really negative emotions. So ones I come across, obviously fear,
yeah,
guilt, shame, that they're ones that come up a lot.
yeah.
Like, well, what I do on my financial planning side of the business is when I'm working with couples, a little exercise that I get them to do is to have a money date. This
Love
is way
it,
more fun than you think, okay?
love it.
Right, so a money date, wine can be involved, definitely, in nice food, okay?
Even better.
And it's sit down and talk about money. And when I say sit down and talk about money, I don't mean the bills, okay? I mean, sit down and have a chat with each other about what was money like for you growing up.
Yeah,
Um, what 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 did you spend your first pay packet on? What was the first thing that you bought with your own money? Um, just things like that. And like at home, who made the decisions about money? If there was a disagreement about money, how would you know? And just like really gentle questions, just trying to understand where each other came from.
yeah,
And that's I think that's a really healthy and a really important thing for any relationship.
yeah,
Understand. It's just understand where you both come from. Because if you come from really different backgrounds or culturally, it's just there's it's just gaining a better understanding of each other.
yeah,
And then talking about what your expectations of the future are. How do you both feel about charitable giving, helping out friends and family, things like that. And it's just trying to, before a situation arises where there's a disconnect,
yeah,
you've already got that understanding of where the other person's coming from.
And it is something that we don't talk openly about.
No,
You know,
no.
it's like your bank account detail. I know we keep our bank account details, you know, but the amount that's in there, money is quite was secretive around our finances and our thoughts around
Uh,
money and wealth and all that sort of stuff. It's not something we would normally discuss with a partner.
no, so that's why I like to use those kind of questions, because
Yeah.
it's not specific about now. It's just trying to understand. And some of the, the amount of conversations I've heard about people buying trainers for some reason. I'm a big trainer fan, so it might be my influence. I don't know, but when someone's talking about what they can remember spending money on as a child, like, oh, I can remember getting a pair of Nike Airs for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And, these can be really nice, happy memories. One of my earliest memories was going to the supermarket with my gran, and we'd walk, and it would take forever. It was only a 10-minute walk, but it took about 2 hours.
Yeah.
She'd stop and talk to everybody on the way, but
Yeah.
they'd all give you 10p.
Bargain.
That's one of my earliest memories of money, is going to Presto way back then with my gran and getting, you'd come home, you could have 60 or 70p. It's a lot of money back then.
It was, yeah. Especially when you got two sweets for a penny. Yeah.
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 So that's what I would encourage people to do, is have conversations like that, because that can feel really good, but also deepen your understanding of the other person as well. And that can be really critical for the long-term future of a relationship.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also a good way of exploring your own beliefs around things.
Yes.
You know, it's not necessarily the content of the conversation, but like you said to me earlier on, what was the feeling then? Did you have a feeling with it? Notice when, the other person is talking, whether you have a reaction to something that they say, because that can be quite an indicator as to what your thoughts and feelings are around certain things, is your reaction to somebody else.
Yeah, and you saying that, it's just popped something into my head. So my husband and I are separated, but we still co-parent, and he lives just up the street.
Yeah.
So like my son can walk between the two houses.
Lovely.
So we are still really close. And it was at Christmas time, and we were discussing what we were going to get him for Christmas and things like that. And this year, because I'm all enlightened now, I could say to him, like, Brian, you at Christmas and birthdays, you spend a bit more than I'm comfortable with on our son, because I don't want him to be spoiled.
Yeah.
So I would rather he had fewer things that he really appreciated than that big ta-da wow moment when he comes down and sees it. That makes me feel really uncomfortable doing that. So how would you feel about sort of, we just set a budget and agreed to it and stuck to it? And he was absolutely fine with that. And it made me feel so much better, because otherwise every birthday and every Christmas, I'm sitting there feeling uncomfortable at how much my son's got, because it's not aligned with my values.
Yeah.
And, for years, this has been doing my head in.
Yeah. But
And,
you said something and that's it.
and
Yeah.
it's changed.
Yeah. Yeah. But, to me, where our feelings are or what we have a reaction to is just an indicator of where our thoughts are.
Yeah.
If I'm having a reaction to something that somebody's saying, that's because I connected it with something personal to me. It's nothing to do with that person, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
It's and everything to do with my beliefs and my thoughts around certain things.
Yep.
So it's a nice indicator sometimes if you have a whoosh or a feeling or something. And that's the bit where I say, be curious. Just,
Oh, yeah.
what's that about? Don't know what's going on there, but I'll just clock that one for now.
I think we're going to have to set up a clubhouse room called Be Curious, because I'd be curious as well.
We need to do that. We need to do it. Yeah. Literally, it's like, oh, what's that about? I'm one of those people that likes people watching. I'm just really curious. What's going on? Yeah.
Oh,
Right, listen, Julie,
understand everything.
we need to do this again. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've got so much from it personally. So yeah, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
I know, Jackie, thank you so much for inviting me on and making me feel so at ease.
Oh, good.
I have loved talking to you, and I hope that you and the people listening have got something useful out of today.
I certainly have, and I'm sure other people have. So you can get in touch with Julie. I'll put all the links to everything in the show notes or whatever. And hop over to Clubhouse on a Friday at 10 o'clock and listen
It's
to Women
Women
and
in Money
Money.
Cafe.
Yeah, I'm going to be there. Because 10 o'clock on a Friday is a good time for me because it's kind of in between clients. So I'm going to jump on Friday and listen. So I'll be in the audience waving.
Okay, thank you so much.
Right, I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, you take care.
Take care. Bye.